Talk and Shop Network makes no apologies for what you're about to hear. The host might, though. It's the $9 Podcast with Drewski. Because moderating for Pro Wrestling's Good Brothers wasn't enough work. Talking wrestling and more. Weekly on all major podcast networks.
And welcome back. Welcome back to the $9 Podcast. It's Drewski. I am administrator, head poobah, head cat wrangler of the Falcon's Nest, which is the dedicated chat room of the Talk and Shop Patreon. And this is the third episode of the big worldwide release of the podcast. This is episode number 43 that I've done in total. And I have to go and have to share my thoughts about first week actually being worldwide after such a time. It's it's very mind blowing. If you're not, it's brand new technology for me, right? You don't. A year ago, I wasn't expected to be in this sort of position. And to see it come to fruition now is still a little strange, still has something to get used to. And, being a one-man operation, learning everything on the fly, no editors, no fact checkers. It's all me, right? So, I'm my own boss. The good and the bad thing. The good thing about being a boss, no one to tell you different. Bad about being a boss, no one to tell you different. You can't exactly fire yourself. You have to roll the punches, right? And it's good to, learning all this new technology is interesting. It's like learning analytics in terms of like who's actually downloaded these episodes the first week. I thank the people that have. To see a map of the world and see where this podcast has ended up, download wise, it's very surreal. It's like every time, it's like it's become like a daily thing the past week. Me coming home from my shoot job and checking, see, okay, who downloaded today, right? Numbers wise, I'm not mad about it. Not disappointed at all. It's basically, hey, any number is a good number. It's like, Rome was not built in a day, and so they say. And if you're going to be in it for long hauls, don't expect like immediate success. It's just basically, you have to be consistent. You have to work at it. And that's what I intend to do. And it's very comforting to know that there's actually an audience out there for so. Well, there's technically an audience for everything, right? 6 billion plus people in the world. There's got to be an audience, at least one or two people that share the same viewpoints on a lot of things, right? And hopefully I get repeat listeners out of this. But if I do, I do. I don't, because I'm not gonna be able to please everybody. As soon as if I get, I don't want to be forced into like adjusting what I do over the loud minority who want things done a certain way, or poo-poo on everything just to poo-poo on everything. I don't subscribe to that. It's like, there's room for everybody. And, there'll be weeks where I'll miss some stuff, because, hey, I have a regular job, right? And I don't have, my free time is not much of free time. It's like I can't really cover as much, cover as much stuff as I can. If I was really what they consider a sicko, I'd be, if I won the lottery, yeah, hey, perfect. I wouldn't have to worry about paying bills. Just sit around all day watching wrestling 24/7, never leaving the house. But we can't have nice things. So on that end, let's get down to business here. It's like the boys, you know, the Good Brothers, Machine Gun, Carl Anderson, and Luke Doc Gallows, who just got back from WSW in Australia. Now, four show mini tour, where it's like sold out crowds, real good production. Very pro wrestling, pro wrestling crowd in Australia, because not very many U.S. talents go to Australia. Really, it's like the WWE doesn't, rarely does shows in Australia because apparently it's too expensive to do so. But those that went, like Killer Cross and Scarlett and Matt Riddle and Bishop Dyer and Donovan Dijak, and, they went over a ton. It's like, crowds were the crowds looked amazing all the entire week. Matches were great. The has to be said again that WSW's production values were very high for what's considered a low considered a lower tier a lower tier promotion in some people's eyes, just because they're not U.S. based. You could see where they put their money. It's like they put the money back into their product, and it shows. And it shows, and they don't run events that that often. But when they do, they're sort of like super show tours, where there will be minimum amount of Australia talent, homegrown talent. And you saw it on display during these 4 days. And you'll also see certain people that are quote unquote not supposed to be there. Perhaps being disguised as videographers. If you know, you know. The return of Buddy Matthews, very good to see. Buddy returning looking like he ate Buddy Matthews from 3 years ago in terms of size. He's giving the Machine Brian Cage a run for his money with his muscular development right now. And it's good to see him back in any capacity. Where he goes from there, we'll see. It's like the only bad thing about the boys, being Australia, is the flight. Having to fly home. Machine Gun just got back yesterday. It was ended up being a 40-hour travel day for him altogether before he got home for he's at home for about a day and a half. And about, as I'm taping this, in about 3 hours or 4 hours or so, give or take, he's on his way to the airport to catch a flight to Japan, where he and Big Hoot, otherwise known as Luke Gallows, are in the Global Tag League for Pro Wrestling Noah for until mid-June. Which is an 18+ hour flight. It's not really much time to decompress, right? Because sleep debt is a thing, right? You have to hope that the boys get some sleep on the flight over. That depends on some of the wrestlers. It's like Matt Jackson famously cannot sleep on long plane flights. So that's one of the reasons he dreaded the Japan flights back and forth from New Japan from California, because You had to stay awake the entire time, and you know you have to wonder, if they're getting, sleep will catch up to them. Eventually, they're going to need like a couple of days like to recover. But they're, the boys are like go 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 all the time. You know, we've seen like photos from the merch tables in Australia. It's like they signed a lot of alleged Uncle Alan signatures on a lot of 8x10s. You didn't hear that from me. You didn't hear that from them. It's been a long-standing rumor that they unconfirmed that this sort of thing tends to happen around their gimmick tables. But that's a dirt sheet thing. Trust me on that one. Um, again, like WSW, as it recently was broadcasting all their shows on Triller, but Triller in the Triller as a network is basically in a whole lot of trouble because AEW is suing them for like past due payments for like their pay per views, showing their pay per views, and WSW and a few other promotions saw the writing on the wall, and they basically moved their streaming rights from Triller straight to YouTube. And it was a smart decision. And if you're tired of like the big two or the big three, or the big three in the U.S., like, do yourself a favor, just go and seek out these sort of smaller promotions. You're gonna find various degrees of production. You'll find diamonds in the rough. You'll find future stars before they get famous. That's one of the things like the High Spots Network was good for. You could see a whole lot of promotions there, on that network would do, you see shows on there and you'd see like, your upcoming talent coming up. It's sort of like, it's sort of like watching minor league baseball in a sense. And yeah, it's a real eye opener because you have to realize that running a show is not cheap. I remember a couple of years ago, the butcher told me that one of the infamous Blackcraft wrestling shows that they did cost about $45,000 to $50,000 just to produce. Right, and that's a lot of money. That is a lot of money, no matter how you slice it. So you figure back during like the Monday Night Wars era, it's like WWE's their budget for an episode was like $1 million an episode, so they say, and you can see it on the screens. It's like most of the money was on pyro, of course. Um, yeah, it's sort of the whole maxim. It's like you got to spend money to make more. That applies to like wrestling promotions. Like wrestling promotions, if you're lucky, it's like gambling. If you're lucky, you're breaking even. Either way, right? A lot of these promotions run at a loss. That's why you see a lot of promotions go under, because you have to really love what you're doing to stick with it. And props to WSW for putting out a product that they may have picked up a few more fans from the U.S. because of how well this week has gone. So their next set of pay-per-views is next set of streaming is called Mega Mania, and that card's stacked. And there's a lot of like MLW talent, AEW talent, Noah talent. Again, another all-star contingent. And I believe the Good Brothers are soon to be announced for that tour as well, but that's a little far away. So we shall see. We shall, we shall see when it's definitive, right? So, and yeah, I only wish good things of that promotion in the future because they've got something great going right now. Uh, Speaking of great, right? Let's talk about Dynamite. Yeah, as a go home show to Double or Nothing this weekend, they pretty much hit another home run. It's like they're at a point where it's like everything is, everything is clicking for them. Story progressions. It's like you're actually telling stories, right? Everything. It's like everything that the small minority of the IWC complains about. Oh, they have no stories. Oh, they don't know. It's it's not true. It's simply it shows that they don't actually watch the product. Some highlights for Dynamite for me though is like today was the 26th anniversary of Mark and Jay Briscoe officially getting into the wrestling business. So as an anniversary match, uh, Mark versus Tommaso Ciampa, and that anything goes match, was worthy of like a Death Before Dishonor pay per view. And they broke the Muda scale in the first hour of Dynamite. It's like, they went to town. They went to town, and that's not. I don't think that's over. I don't think it's over because it could be one of those fight forever feuds with those two. That would not surprise me. But what did kind of surprise me was like Willow Nightingale having to give up the TBS title for injuring her shoulder, and because she was penciled in for the women's bracket for the Owen Hart tournament that they have going on. But now her spot's freed up for a wild card. And already they're running speculations running rampant that it's going to be Mercedes Monet being slotted in. But it's hard to you could see where it could be, but they moved the actual because the first qualifying match was supposed to be on Double or Nothing, but it got moved off the card because of the injury. Now in a very very chaotic world, it would be funnier. It'd be a little funny to like 90-day clause be damned if one Kari Hojo happened to be the wild card this weekend. Think mull that over for a second, right? Because apparently a couple days ago she started following Tony Khan. So make that what you will. I mean, Double or Nothing is very is shaping up to be another all-time card. You got Darby and MGF, the hair match. They're really laying on the fact that Max is going to go bald. I mean, almost to a ridiculous extreme. You're really selling it hard that he's going bald, which makes you want to like run the other way and have Max win. But it's very interesting how they're going to work their way around that. Then you got Mox and Kyle O'Reilly, no time limit for the international title, and Kyle they had it set up where Kyle has Mox's number. It's like he's like the one guy that for some reason Kyle is Mox's kryptonite. Now, if anybody was like a future Death Rider, it would be Kyle because of Kyle's background. Because Kyle has trained in MMA extensively, and you could see him being like a killer in that with that stable. But will they actually do it? Hard to say. I'm not sure they would go that route. Um, you got the Bucks. You have, I mean, Cope and Christian against FTR in an I Quit match. It'd be interesting to see what version of FTR shows up, what version of Cope and Christian show up, and it's gonna be a raucous crowd regardless because they are in New York, Louis Armstrong Stadium. It's gonna be packed, it's sold out. Right, I'm expecting surprises, and it's like one of the surprises has already happened because Mrs. Foley's baby boy is actually all elite now. Now, what capacity will Mick be involved with AEW? It's hard to say. Will he be like the devil on Darby's shoulder? Will he be a commentator? Will he manage somebody? Will he conglomerate? The thought of him conglomerating him and Mark Briscoe doing promos together is gold. It's gold. It's gold in a humorous way. He can do so much. As long as he doesn't take bumps, right? Even though he's dropped a ton of weight compared to like a couple of years ago. Apparently, a couple months ago, he floated the idea of having like one last match. Some wrestlers, and it's like I need one more match. They can't get. That's why retirement in wrestling is retirement in wrestling is always in quotations because they can't really retire. There's always one more match. So Mick basically sees MJF and it's like, oh, okay, I can work with this kid. And apparently, if you believe what you read, MJF had like a 6-week program already figured out for him and Mick. And will they revisit that? Will they actually visit that? Visit that potential storyline? It depends. It's like, because Mick is going, Mick's not. He's supposed to be doing like the pre-show for Double or Nothing with Renee, but I have a feeling he's going to be a major factor in what happens in the MJF and Darby match, one way or the other, and see what goes from there. And then you got the match everybody's been waiting for, Takeshita and Okada. It's been a year plus building up for it, and it's got the right crowd, right. It's the right time to do it because it's going to be just let them go, full New Japan with this crap. Just treat it like a Tokyo Dome match for crying out loud. Just let them go. Hell, bring in Red Shoes to ref the damn thing. Yeah, they won't do that. But it's going to be chaotic whatever happens from it. Will it lead to Takeshita finally leaving the Don Callis family? Will Don Callis family get involved somehow? Will it be the split finally happen when we get the Don Callis family civil war? So many options. So many options. You got then you got the first round of men's Owen Classic, Owen Tournament. Also scheduled for Double or Nothing. The first round match between Samoa Joe and Osprey, which has never happened. It's a first time ever matchup. It's a dream matchup for a lot of people. You want to talk about the epitome of styles making fights? This is it. There's a whole lot of history involved. It's going to go down a lot better than Osprey versus Vader did way back in the day. Because Joe's dropped weight. Joe looks ready. Osprey's actually almost back down to his junior heavy size, it looks like. So he's going to be moving around a lot and reverting probably to the aerial assassin days. Yeah. Then you got Stadium Stampede, which is like it's going to be a 7-on-7 clusterfuck of immense proportions. They teased it with the 3-on-3. With the trios battle that opened up Dynamite, where you had the Bucks and Jericho teaming up against Mark Davis, Toa Leone, and Ricochet, and it ended up being like a 6-on-6 at the end of it because basically everybody got involved except for one Kenneth Jerome Omega, who was conspicuous by his absence. Makes you wonder if they're saving Kenny just for the big pay-per-view reveals, trying to get as much mileage out of him as possible. And you also have to wonder if Hangman and Adam Page is going to show up soon, because there's so many potential returns that could happen. I mean, it is New York. Does Eddie Kingston return? How can you leave Eddie out of a New York show, for crying out loud? Well, yeah, it's and again, a embarrassment of riches with this roster, and I'm interested to see how the tournaments shake out, because we have we have other stuff coming, right? You have it's got Forbidden Door season like right only like a couple weeks, actually, about 3-4 weeks later, coming up after this, so they're gonna have to start laying the groundwork for that. And they just announced they had pre-sale go on for Dynamite Collision July 1st in San Diego at Viejas Arena. First time they've been back in about 2+ years. And I need to go off a bit on Ticketmaster for a bit, because yes, I secured tickets, but the actual real pre-sale goes on sale today. Yesterday's pre-sale was for like VIPs only. I ended up getting a VIP, but let me tell you what it's like with Ticketmaster's dynamic pricing context. You can see there was a bit of sticker shock going on because nobody was buying front row tickets because they were selling them for $750 with with fees and everything. And whereas the second row is like $250 cheaper. One row difference, and it's $250 cheaper. For seats right behind, it's it's ludicrous to me, right? Considering I know the layout of Viejas Arena very well, second row on the floor might as well be front row on the floor, and it does not matter where I'm sitting on the floor. Claudio Castagnoli is going to throw a wrestler at me. It's happened the last 2 times I've gone to Dynamite in San Diego in Oceanside. The first time it was Adam Copeland. Second time was Josh Alexander. Second time, Josh Alexander almost destroyed my phone. And I don't know what it is about me that Claudio says, hey, this kid needs a wrestler thrown at him. So, but it's becoming a long-running feud, pretty much one-sided, because let's face it, Claudio could wipe out like 95% of the population. And, we shall see what the card will be like for that, because it will be the first show after Forbidden Door. And apparently, there's a new pay per view in like July called Redemption that they're going to lead up to. It sort of like it's sort of probably be with the finals or the, I don't know if it'll be a finals. It'll be, you got to start setting up for All In. So you have no idea who's going to be available for for the show for after Forbidden Door. So it's going to be, it's going to be Dynamite and Collision. So, and probably probably some Ring of Honor taping as well. So that's like 4+ hours of maybe at least 3.5, 4 hours of straight wrestling. And the odds are me getting to see Rocky Romero get wrecked live. Yeah, that in itself is priceless to me and to a lot of the Falcons Nest. Because technically we're jealous of Rocky getting all these paychecks from all these different companies he's working. It's like you're looking up, and every week Rocky's in Arena Mexico. Headlining Arena Mexico, by the way, doing sneaky style things while kayfabing the Falcons Nest. While ignoring like messages from Machine Gun and Gallows. But still has in his Twitter handle that he's 1/3 of Talking Shop, even though he hasn't been with Talking Shop for over a year. Curious. We love to give Rocky ration shit because he does not come in to defend himself. That's why. Simple. Very simple. And I wish WWE was simple right now, but I mean, over the past couple of weeks, like I'm getting mixed mission statements in terms of what their direction is going. It's like we got to get this straight. First, you cut the number of house shows. Then you ask people to take a 50% pay cut because you're not doing house shows. After you have people take a 50%, take the some of the talent take a 50% pay cut, then you say, oh, you know what we should do? We should start doing house shows. What kind of two-faced bullshit is this? Right? It does not, it's a very very politician thing to do. Say one thing, do another. It's like going back on your word. Really, and it casts the company in a bad light that way, I think. By the same token, right? You get rid of a lot of guys who were part of your tag team division you had like a decent tag team division over the years, including certain couple of good brothers that happen to be tearing up everywhere else right now. And then like you get rid of those people trying to cut costs, and then a couple months later hey, a new plan. Let's rebuild the tag team division. You had a tag team division. You had a tag team division, and you neglected it, and you got rid of it. Now you want it back. And I have a feeling that you want it back at a cheaper price. And I could, I was any tag team that got released and they came to me with that offer, like trying to lowball me, lowball, offering a lowball contract and dangling WrestleMania moment over my head as an enticement, I would put him on Reed at this point. It's like, why? What's to say like in a couple months from now, we don't get cut again, right? It's you know because apparently the contracts are supposedly 90-day a series of rolling 90-day contracts, and I'm sure everybody's situation is different. There will probably be some people who accept it, right? I could see like young guys just starting out, like willing to go to NXT to like to season up, to get seasoned, get coaching, and work their way up. At low cost, with the promise of like WrestleMania moment, but then getting cut like 6 months later when they don't show any improvement, or 3 months later. It's a it's a circular type of thing where you don't really trust you'd hope that they would bet on themselves and take your talents along the around the world, like the boys have been doing, like the Good Brothers have been doing, like Shotzi's been doing, like Killer Cross has been doing. You know, Matt Cardona, for all his faults, has shown that if you hustle enough on the independents, you can make as much or not more than you did working for like the big two, big three, or big three. It's a matter of work. It's a matter of working, and I'm sure that there's a lot of a lot of thought on some of the teams that have been let go, like Motor City Machine Guns and the New Day. They're both teams are at a point where it's like they don't really need to work. It's like Kofi's going to be in the Hall of Fame regardless because of his career. Both Woods and Kofi will be in the WWE Hall of Fame. Just for the New Day's tag team run, and Kofi just for being Kofi, and 20 years plus longevity, right? And the Motor City Machine Guns influenced a whole generation of tag teams, but they're both teams aren't very aren't the young kids on the block anymore, and with the tag team division in AEW becoming like as arguably as top heavy, arguably as stacked as it was like in like 2021, early days when they had Lucha Brothers and FTR and the Young Bucks all in the same company. It's arguably the same. It's you could potentially lobby for like a tag team round robin tournament, like the G1 version of a tag team tournament, because they have so many tag teams now, so many tag teams that can go for them. So many tag teams are just sitting around that haven't been used in a while, and they're still going out and getting reps in the indies and waiting for the call. And we shall see. We shall see in the next 6 months where everything goes. Um, I'm sure. I'm sure Tony has a plan. And yeah, and there the temptation of a TLC match in Wembley, all these legendary tag teams, you know, is right there for the taking. It's like, but do you want to build up to it, or you don't want to like do you use it for All In, or do you like build it up? That's hard to say. It's like, do you strike fast, or do because you only get one real good chance at doing it. It's like you want to do it right or not, or wait, build it up so so people can acknowledge the history involved. Um, because let's see, 90 days. It's like early August is when the 90 days comes up for the New Day. Which leaves like a 3 weeks until 3 weeks or so until All in London. Is that enough time to tell a story? Tell a story. It could be if it's done right, but it has to be done right. There's too much. There's too much history involved. You have to. You don't really have to do that much heavy lifting. But there's a chance. There's going to be people that don't know the history, and you're going to have to bring people up to speed. It's like you want people, you know, who see who watch AEW for the first time, and it's like, who's this guy? Who's this guy? Who's this guy? They don't know the history. They have to be they have to be told, you know one way or the other. They have to be told. But some people aren't nice about telling them, because it's a little bit of a gatekeeper type thing, and which happens all too often in this fandom. And I'm sure I'm sure what happened. Once they announce the tag team, if New Day gets announced, if New Day Bucks gets announced, you're gonna see such a spike for attendance. It's gonna be yeah. I mean, the combination of the New Day and Mick Foley backstage is only going to uh, help tons. So much experience, so willing to help young talent. Mick especially with the women. Mick has always been a champion of female talent. Some people don't see it that way. They think there's something salacious about it. But no, Mick is always people who say that have never seen Mick's wife. And I'll leave that like that. Um, I'm sure there'll be like more surprises coming in the next couple of weeks. Do I see stuff like Alistair Black returning? I don't know. I don't know. I think it's yeah. I think Tommy Bludgeon is at a point in his career where it's like he doesn't really need to do it. But you might want to take a little bit of a break from doing it. And you know, do, do you want to go? Do you see his character working in TNA? Because TNA has an affinity for supernatural stuff. They do it better than almost any other promotion. Well, it's easy to say because they're really the only ones doing it. So, um, I don't know. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Um, I'm sure I'm sure people, you know, it's just like people were real excited about Brock being back, showing up again back in WWE. With the so much for the retirement angle. That sort of threw people off a lot. I noticed, but again, retirement in wrestling is in quotes. It's like you never really retire in wrestling. It's always one more match, one more match. This probably won't be the last time you see certain guys like retire and then come back, and certain guys, because it's tradition at this point, and it's all you can do is just shake your head and go, oh, yep, that's wrestling. It's sort of thing. It's like sort of thing like can only really happen in wrestling. I think I'll go ahead and give it like a metal recommendation of the week. It's been a couple weeks. The first new Anthrax song in 10 years just dropped. It's for the kids, and you have to understand the Anthrax. They're all like in the early mid 60s now. It's not 1984, 1985 anymore. It's not among the living era, but the song is a definite throwback to like spreading the disease era, spreading the disease era Anthrax in a good way. And Joey Belladonna sounds great. It's and Joey's 65 and he still pretty much has his voice. There's certain like of the old guard of like the Big Four or Big Six. I like to call it the Big Six because I throw Exodus and Testament in the so-called thrash metal Big Four, because Exodus and Testament have been tearing it up still for years. And even live, and they're not spring chickens either. It's like there's certain bands. So it's like they've been around for decades and they're still they're still playing like they're in the 20s, and it's a commitment. It's a serious commitment. It's like bands like Vader, a band from Poland called Vader, Vader. They've been around for 30 something years now, and they still bring it. Vader, Creator, and you know it's good to see good to see the older bands not being relegated to what is considered like in European circles. They call it like a nostalgia. There's a nostalgia circuit for like metal bands. And it's like once bands reach like a certain age or so, they end up in second tier, what's considered second tier European metal festivals, where it's basically all what they call it the nostalgia circuit, where it's like old school old school metal bands where that don't really have the fun, that were much bigger in Europe than they were in the U.S. Stuff like Warlord and Trouble and Rothschild America, and bands like that, and Fate's Warning, Metal Church. Those are type of guys that they may not have a new album out or whatever, but they're guaranteed. They're playing the festivals yearly, every year. It's guaranteed. And right now, Anthrax is going out on tour in Europe with Iron Maiden. Iron Maiden's like they just got an intro to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They're not going to show up because that's Maiden's way. They won't show up. But Maiden's like going on the 50th year together. Those guys aren't getting any younger either, and Their tour this year is doing like the first 4 albums, which is enjoy those bands while you can, while they're still around. You know, don't look at them like what they are now. Remember what they are then. Then, and just I think the new Anthrax album comes out in September, and judging from what I've heard so far, it'll probably be a solid pickup. I'm gonna go ahead and end this little fiasco. You know, nice little reminder that this show's available worldwide on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Pandora, and as of a couple days ago, iHeartRadio. Yes, you can't escape me now. It's scary. It's the YouTube channel where it's like all the old episodes are. And it's like video versions of these, because you see you hear the audio version, but there's actual video versions of this podcast, and eventually the video podcasts are going to end up on a couple of these sites. But it's just a work in progress. But until then, it's like youtube.com/$9 podcast. If you want to support the boy, so I got shirts, I got all that, the whole 9 yards at $9podcast.dashery.com. If you want to email the old man, that's me. Hi, I'm old man. The $9 podcast at yahoo.com. And you want to check out the Talking Shop Patreon to see the rest of the guys in the Talking Shop network, like the Grunt Gang and the Bump and Feed. And who else is coming soon? You'll find out if you join the Patreon. Patreon.com/Talking Shop. Well, thanks for putting up with me for another week. I shall get back to you all next week.